I'll call to order this July 1st, 2021 meeting of the Santa Barbara City Council. It's a special meeting. We're hearing interviews of people who want to serve on our State Street Advisory Committee. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Oh, yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Alejandro Gutierrez. Councilmember Harmon.
Here.
Councilmember Sneddon.
Here.
Councilmember Friedman.
Here.
Councilmember Jordan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Oscar Gutierrez.
Present.
Mayor Maria.
Here, thank you very much. If you would read the item into the record.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Item number 1, State Street Advisory Committee applicant interviews, as described in item number 1.
And you have some housekeeping announcements or instructions, sir?
Oh, yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a brief notice to all of our interviewees about the process. I will begin by stating your name when it's your time to interview, and my apologies if I mistakenly mispronounce your name. Within the GoToWebinar application, I will then elevate you to the status of a panelist. Elevating you to a panelist will allow you to turn on your webcam. And to simplify that step, I will also send you a command within the GoToWebinar application asking if you would like to turn on your webcam, and you'll just have to click yes. You should not need to unmute yourself, and your open audio status will be indicated by a green microphone icon next to your name. Finally, when your interview ends, I will be exiting you from the meeting, but please feel welcome to rejoin using the same link you used when initially entering the meeting. And thank you very much.
Mr. Stowe, let's see if there's any public comment at this point. It's a special meeting, and so we don't have to take public comment. Open public comment, items not on the agenda. But let's go ahead and do it. And then we'll see at the end if there's public comment related to the item, if somebody has something to say about our process or about the downtown. Is anyone raising their hand to talk about things that are not on the agenda?
Madam Mayor, at this time, no one has raised their hand for a public comment.
Okay, and like I said, we'll do public comment at the end too, in case someone wants to jump in and has something to say. I would at this point ask my colleagues to come onto the screen, and some of us have been making statements before we interview folks, letting them know that they could steer their comments and their presentation to our specific concerns. So please, council members, let me know if you wanted to give some instruction or advice or encouragement to our candidates. Ms. Sneddon, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just repeat what I've sort of said at the beginning of each one, that I think we're all looking for different qualities, and those that I'm looking for most specifically are people who have broad experience with downtown and with our city. So not necessarily representing any one group, but someone who can bring perspective from a variety of experiences. And if an applicant wants to discuss that during their time, that's fantastic, or I can ask questions when the time comes. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay, so let's go ahead and Mr. Stowe, invite the first person up, and the timer, it says, let's go ahead and put 3 minutes, Mr. Stowe, if that's not going to drive you crazy to adjust that there. What, that was easy. And you know, take 3 minutes, and then that way we'll have time to ask you questions. So go ahead, please, Mr. Clark.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Our first applicant is Lisa McGonigal, tab 60. And Lisa, I have unmuted you. And
Hello.
you may begin, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
We hear you, ma'am, but we don't see you. Did you get a webcam request?
Yes. Well, I have. Can you see me now?
No.
Oh boy.
We can do it without the visual.
Okay.
That's not a
Well,
problem for us.
if that's okay with you, I apologize. I watched most of the interviews yesterday, and I feel very sheepish right now because I appear to be the only one who had this problem. So,
Please feel welcome. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So my name is Lisa McGonigal, and I am retired from a career primarily in the private sector, but some in the public sector, with an emphasis in management consulting, best practices research, and product research and development, utilizing voice of the customer research. So most of my career has been focused on developing products by first starting and identifying who are the customers, or in the case of the public sector, the constituents, what they want, what their needs are, some of which are unmet, some of which they may not even understand what they need, identifying those customers, and then building a product to meet their desires. So I think, as I think about the State Street project, I think of it very much that way, which is there's this wonderful potential for a product on State Street. We're trying to identify the customers that we want to meet their needs for State Street and build something that will meet their needs so they'll come and enjoy State Street. So it's a little different than some of the other perspectives I heard in other interviews where people are bringing expertise in the business world or the real estate world or areas relating to regulation. I'm more of an outside identifying what the product's going to be, then working with those individuals who have that expertise to build it and make sure it meets the needs of those customers. I'm also a mom to 3 teens. And unlike most of the other interviews I heard, I'm a newbie to Santa Barbara. I was there for 2 years part-time, and last year I moved here full-time. I'm actually on the East Coast right now. Maybe that's the video problem. In the process of selling my house because I've decided to commit full-time to Santa Barbara. I'm primarily from the East Coast, but I did spend 5 years in Barcelona, Spain. And all of the places that I have lived have had some type of Main Street corridor. And I don't think that's coincident with the type of place that I like to live. There's always been some type of zoning restrictions, whether or not it's historic commission or environmental or regulatory. And so I understand both from my life experience, but also my public sector experience that, oh, wait a minute, hold on. I have a little clip that says, share my webcam.
Yeah, let's see. There, okay.
Hello, okay. So what I was going to say is both my life experience and my work experience, I understand that doing things in the public sector is a very complicated process. It's very different than in the private sector where you're just looking at the bottom line at a P&L. Your organizational structure in the public sector is extremely complex. And there are a lot of obligations to taxpayers, making sure abiding by regulations. It's more complex, frankly, than being in the private sector when you're trying to do something in the public sector. But what I think I can bring to the commission is this perspective of constantly asking the group, like, who is our customer? Can we identify our customer? Do we know what they want? Have we listened to what they want? Have we looked at best practices in other communities? I built a career on market research, talking to people, listening very open-mindedly. And from that, often what happens is this vision of the person or the customers that you're trying to meet becomes a reality. And you suddenly find yourself saying, okay, this is the person. You start to give them names like Sam, or Kathy wants this, and Sam wants this, and Eric wants that. And it becomes really energizing to then develop a product to meet their needs. It's really fun. It's a lot of fun. So my perspective is I rely on the expertise of a lot of other people who have that knowledge of whether it's landscape planning or architecture planning or regulatory, and make sure all those pieces are fitting together to meet the needs of the customer that we've identified.
Thank you.
So I'm super excited about this committee. Whether or not I get to serve on this, I will follow it closely. I think this is very interesting. I've followed State Street since I moved part-time 3 years ago to now, with it becoming a pedestrian access. I think it's fascinating work, and I applaud all of you for taking this step to re-envision State Street.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. McGonigal? Mr. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. McGonigal. I appreciate you being new to the community, and maybe that's something that could be a strength, getting an outside view. I want to ask you your opinion about the certain businesses that are on State Street, for example, like nightclubs and bars, whether they should be, whether we should encourage more of that, or maybe, as some residents are asking us, to restrict them a bit more. I just kind of wanted to get your opinion as a mother of three about that.
I think I would say first we have to decide who the customer is of State Street. And I think there'll be multiple customers. My opinion, just from my 3 years of walking down there, is that there is a customer who wants the bars and the music. There's hen parties, I've seen all of those things. Now that's in direct conflict with what I want, which is to send my teenagers downtown and have them be safe. But State Street is long enough and broad enough where I think there's a possibility to say, you know, there's an area here which is zoned. We're thinking of this type of customer frequenting these 3 blocks, and really thinking about those 3 blocks as meeting our tourists or our, you know, the people who are coming here to have some fun, versus some other blocks which might be for theater goers who are looking for fine dining after they go to the theater. So I think, you know, we have to figure out which customers we're trying to meet the needs of. There may be some that we decide we cannot meet the needs of because it's too in conflict with others. But I think there's a lot of potential for multiple zones that as long as the transitions work between them, could meet many customers' needs.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks so much for your application. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for your time.
Mr. Stow?
Madam Mayor, our next interviewee will be Whitney Rush, tab S. And Whitney Rush will be followed by Yvonne Ibarra, Kristen Miller, and Heather Deutsch. And Whitney Rush, I am now elevating you to the status of panelist.
Ms. Rush, you get
Hi
points
there.
for being persistent. We remember you from Tuesday night, so thanks.
Oh, well, I appreciate you guys continuing to be engaged. It's like I haven't been doing this every day for a year. That was one of the weirder glitches I've seen. So thank you for having the shot number 2 on this. But yes, thank you all. Hello, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Thank you for staying engaged across these 3 evenings. My name is Whitney Rush. I currently work in regional rail and transit for the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments after years of being in their traffic solutions division. Both of these roles kind of explore what it means to move through our region without a car, which I think is a key element for our current car-free State Street. And my past relevant work includes working in public markets and primary research for Project for Public Spaces in Manhattan. So while there, in conjunction with Columbia University's study, we focused on what elements and amenities of street design create a more walkable space. While there, I also worked on the Moore Street Market revitalization, and that involved interviewing vendors and buyers on what was needed to bring back this once thriving food market. I have a degree in urban planning and public health from McGill University in Montreal, which provides me the foundation of human-centered design and good placemaking. I bounced around for like a decade working in adventure travel, but I found myself in this enchanting part of the world about 6 years ago. And what makes any place special is the community. Santa Barbara feels like home because of the community here. With State Street, I worked for many years at the Santa Barbara Adventure Company. They're on the corner of Haley and Anacapa, so I'm very familiar with that 400 block. I believe, like all great blocks, it has potential. It's a key crossroads for the city. I think some extra engagement, some extra listening, brainstorming, and creative problem solving can make it that capstone block for all the stakeholders. And as Councilwoman Sneddon has mentioned, we all wear many hats. My most recent hat is that of a proud new mom and a very active member of the Centerline community, which represents hundreds of local birthing people navigating the crazy world of parenthood with biweekly downtown meetups, monthly community conversations, and weekly support groups. We are actively raising the next generation that will engage with State Street. Whether we're talking about how to navigate strollers on those crowded streets, where to grab a drink in the most family-friendly space, I believe new families are one of the many important voices in this town. And formerly, I was on the Santa Barbara Sister Cities Board. I enjoyed working with the various committees to understand their needs for an inclusive community that allowed Santa Barbara to share their ideas globally. And I'm also a recent graduate of Leadership Santa Barbara, which is a local issue-oriented leadership development program. And in closing, I have time, commitment, desire to serve on this committee. And I also believe I have the professional and personal skills to work together to bring back the heart to State Street. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
You're welcome. We'll take questions for Ms. Rush if there are any. I think we know you already, Ms. Rush. Thank you so much for applying.
Yes, thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you. Next person?
Yes, Madam Mayor, our next applicant is Yvonne Ibarra. And Yvonne, I have elevated you to the status of panelist, and you may turn on your microphone and begin, please.
In the
And she's
chat.
tab 39, Madam Mayor, tab 39.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, Ms. Ibarra.
Hi. Hello, hello. Good afternoon, all. I've been to the previous two, and Madam Mayor, council members, I must say, oh my God, stamina. It's been incredible to hear from everyone in the community, and it's just so exciting. I'm very thankful for this opportunity.
Ma'am, can I
Yes.
interrupt you to ask if you would try to turn on your camera?
Oh,
If you
okay,
want-
yes.
If you want to be seen.
Yes, I do. And I thought, okay, sorry, very sorry. Okay. Do you
There.
see me? Yeah, oh, yes, thank you.
Better.
Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry about that. I just want to continue to say that it's an honor, a privilege to be here. Yes, my name is Yvonne Ibarra. I'm new to Santa Barbara, but first I'll get to my back. First, I wish to say that I'm willing and to devote the time needed that it's going to take to get this ball rolling, this enormous effort moving forward. I'm an architect and a historic preservationist by trade, so we know about burning the midnight oil. It's we put in all-nighters. My passion and belief is in the power of thoughtful thinking, thoughtful planning, thoughtful design itself in terms of the collaboration that it's going to take with our government leaders, the business owners, artists in the community, other architects, landscape architects, the urban planners, the citizens, they're the ones that we're serving to make this, our new State Street, beautiful for. So we need bold strategies, unique perspectives, and each person, no matter what their background, will bring their own perspective to the table. I'm originally from New York City, and with my husband, we're in love with the city. We're here 3 years. In New York, I had received my degrees and established my architectural practice just a block away from Bryant Park, which was mentioned in a previous evening, and deservedly so. I worked with the firm responsible for extending the stacks of the New York Public Library, which faces the park underneath the park. And the park, once derelict, nobody wanted to go there. It was a block away from the red light district back in the day. Nobody used this amazing piece of property in Midtown Manhattan. But because of incentives around the community surrounding the park and the citizens themselves, this was transformed and kept going without any monies from the city through public-private partnerships. Also mentioned previously, they work because of the communities that want, the businesses that want to be around the park, the hotels, the restaurants, they all pay a little bit more to an association that devotes all their proceeds from that to keeping the park active and running, and a place where everybody wants to go. It's one of the most visited urban centers in the world. And to do so, and to raise the 20 million or so money that they have ongoing activities, and that's what I see for State Street. In this park, 9 acres, they have all these activities free. They have a club, outdoor reading, the bocce ball, ping pong. They have, of course, yoga night, movie night, lectures, concerts, entertainers. Fashion Week brings an incredible amount of money. Yes, they pitch up Hollywood-style tent on the lawn, but then those monies go back to restoring the lawn, and now people are free to use the spaces. There are little cafe tables and chairs that people are free to move around. They're rarely stolen. What I'm trying to point out is that these foundations and the people who run them know how to bring activities to a place where people want to keep coming back. And that attracts the business owners, and more people come. And that keeps going. The same thing with the High Line further downtown, which I also see flourish from something that was abandoned, an elevated railway 30 feet up in the air. People saying, what a blight, it's cutting through our neighborhood. But it only took 2 people in that area, in the district of Chelsea, to say, wait a minute, there's potential here. And they had a photographer photograph the wild green strip of park that was going down, cutting through a path through this part of Manhattan for 1.5 miles, about the length of State Street that we want to revitalize, and say, look, this is what we have. And monies came in, attention, don't knock it, don't tear it down. And again, through a public-private partnership, they were able to raise money to get an international competition going, to hire an architectural firm, urban planners, and get something on the table where the citizens voted yes or no. And now, 2 decades later, it has brought in $30 billion worth of economic investment. Why? Because people want to be near the park, live, work, and play. Office towers came, more housing, and school. Things transform where people want to be. Monies follow. So here we're needing density. The city needs money, but where's the money for State Street going to come? It has to come from a foundation that knows how to raise it for the good of something that will be there, as was said previously, for the kids when they're in college. Maybe this will be saved. So,
Ms. Ibarra, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
No, I know you're excited about the subject matter. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Specific questions? Mr. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for applying, Ms. Ibarra. I found what you said very interesting. I noticed that you had mentioned that sometimes you have to do things that have been done before. Obviously, we recently shut down State Street to cars, and that's something that we've never done before. But I'm wondering your opinion or your insight on how more we should lean into doing things we've never done before, or whether we should try to lean back a little bit. For example, you're asking where we can find money to do certain things. A lot of people have suggested maybe cannabis being a revenue generator for things. So how do you feel about there being new things that we've never done before, like cannabis consumption lounges on State Street? Do you think that would be appropriate? Do you not think it would be appropriate?
Oh, very interesting. Okay, in terms of other businesses, yes, of course. You know, because I remember you asking, and I'll get to cannabis, about other restaurants, shops, nightclubs. I feel we definitely need more of that. We need to give people more reasons to come, but also more activities. And I see State Street for families, so and children. The street, the car-free corridor with more lush gardens and I think it's more for families, and I feel personally that maybe the cannabis shops could be somewhere on the side. No, I mean, it's an income generating business for the city, no doubt. And there's more of that to come, and that's fine. But I see this more as a place where families and people come their activities every day. And so we don't need just to focus on that. I think we need to focus on how we bring activities so people want to be there. Then developers say, yeah, I want to build here. So that's my answer. Try to keep it short. Sorry.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Sorry. Absolutely.
Any other questions? Ms. Ibarra, thank you so much for applying.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Our next applicant is Kristen Miller. And Kristen, I have elevated you to a panelist. And I am sending you the webcam request. Kristen Miller is tab number 56. And thank you.
We see you, Ms. Miller. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I'm Kristen Miller, President and CEO of the Santa Barbara South Coast Chamber of Commerce, representing 1,100 members and 75,000 jobs in the region. In my professional career, I've worked extensively in economic development, visitor services, and downtown management, and I'm familiar with housing law, zoning, general plans, land use, and business improvement districts. This type of work requires consensus building, knowledge and expertise, and communications and outreach. I am willing and able to serve on the Downtown State Street Master Plan Advisory Committee and have the support of our 40+ member board of directors to offer the time and dedication to help out on this important project. The Chamber represents businesses from Goleta to Carpinteria and a wide variety of industries. But we also understand that State Street is an integral part of our downtown, which is the heartbeat of Santa Barbara and the entire South Coast. The economic vitality of this area is of vital importance to the entire region. Master planning State Street is a huge responsibility and an incredible opportunity to set our course for a vibrant future that is economically viable, offers neighborhood serving amenities, accommodates downtown housing, is pedestrian friendly, offers a destination for visitors, offers employment for residents, preserves our rich history and culture, and promotes a healthy business climate. We have an opportunity to plan for a better downtown for future generations and to be an example of best practices in offering the best possible habitat for us, our people, our jobs, our friends and neighbors, our businesses, and our visitors. I look forward to hopefully working with a dedicated group on the advisory committee for such an important and worthy cause. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sneddon, question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Miller, for your application. And then I just have a question, I guess, about different hats or roles, or do you see, or how would you address any potential conflicts, say, something that would benefit the South Coast, but maybe might not be right for State Street? And are you representing the Chamber of Commerce, or are you representing yourself with your own broad viewpoints? And if so, what are those viewpoints as you as an individual? Just for myself, I'm not so interested in having a Chamber of Commerce representative because I think the Chamber of Commerce has a voice. So you as an individual applicant, what is it that the perspective that you are bringing for us?
Well, thank you. I have been a resident here for 20 years, and I've been raising kids here, and am definitely feel like this is my hometown and my backyard. But as a professional, I am very versed in representing the business community, and do think that it's an asset to have both my personal expertise on the advisory committee, but being able to bring the communication and consensus back to the Chamber of Commerce and to our board and to our members as well. Because I have access to such a wide variety of businesses, I think that gives me personally an ability to speak on the committee for the knowledge that I have about what each of those industries know. And as far as the difference between a regional need on the street or what the street needs, the committee is being formed to create a master plan for State Street. So that is the highest and best intention of what we're doing. To do that within the perspective of how we're connected to the larger region, I think is an important asset as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I just want to really clarify, and other council members may have a totally different ask of you, but would you be considering yourself a representative of the chamber, or would you be considering yourself an individual with broad experience? If the chamber wanted you to vote differently or bring a different perspective, which one would you bring? Your own perspective, or what the chamber would ask of you?
I guess I need to think about this, but no, I think when the discussion was being had at the council level about creating a committee, there was discussion about having a couple of seats that represent the business community. So having someone from the chamber, someone from downtown, maybe someone from visitors would be important. So yes, I do see myself as representing the chamber, the business community, which, you know, lines up well with my personal profession. But they are, it's a business seat that I see it as.
Thank you. That's very helpful, because we do have some slots specifically for business perspective and some for broad perspective. And I think it's helpful for us to know which you would be serving as and which you see yourself as. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Miller. I just want to get your opinion about consumption lounges of cannabis on State Street.
Oh gosh, just an easy question like that, right? Thanks. Actually, I really would like to go, part of the role I would love to see myself bringing to the committee would be access to data. And so in this day and age, we have a lot of data and research available to us on what customers need and what customers want, and how many buyers we have in certain industry, how many people want dress shops, how many people want a cannabis shop, how many people want to eat out for dinner. So I would suggest that we try to take a little bit of a data-driven approach to answering questions like that.
Okay. What is your opinion about vacancy control on State Street?
You know, the vacancy, oh, wait, say that again?
So as you know, there's a lot of buildings on State Street that are vacant, and some of them have been vacant for almost 2 decades. I just want your opinion about the thought of having some sort of control over that.
You know, I just want to make sure you didn't say vagrancy, but vacancy, yes. The high commercial vacancy rates on State Street are probably the highest and biggest concern because of the pyramid of problems that creates down the line. So I'd be very interested in any and all creative measures, including incentives to fix that problem as sooner rather than later.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Friedman.
I think I just want to follow up on the previous questions from Councilmember Sutton and your answer about the chamber. If selected and working as a chamber kind of perspective, would you also be bringing the resources that the chamber has to offer? Because in your last answer, you just mentioned you're very data driven. So would you have that additional, would you be able to use chamber staff and other resources that the chamber would have to help gather that data and those types of things that we would need to analyze?
Yes, I think that's an important role that we're offering to play.
All right, thank you.
Okay. No other questions? Ms. Miller, thank you for applying.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
Yes, Madam Mayor, our next interviewee will be Heather Deutsch, tab number 35. And she will be followed by Marge Carafelli, Clay Orell, and Dennis Whelan. And Heather Deutsch, I have elevated you to the position of panelist. And I am now sending you your webcam request.
There. We see you.
Oh, hi there.
Go ahead, please. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. My name is Heather Deutsch, nicely pronounced, and I am the executive director and representative of the Coalition for Sustainable Transportation, known as COAST, and the Santa Barbara Bicycle Coalition, which merged today. I have the time and I'm committed to making this undertaking a priority. I want to serve on this committee because, as a resident, State Street is the heart of this community and has been for almost the 50 years now that I have known it. I want to serve on this committee because I want its future to be one that welcomes and accommodates the diversity of people and needs, which we must serve. And I think I have a lot to offer. For the past 20 years, I've been a corridor designer focused on pedestrian, bicycle, accessibility, and transit access. This has included projects in which I've incorporated stormwater management, artists, art pieces and arts programming, landscaping projects and tree plantings, working with the homeless, new housing and shop developments, and designs to increase economic development. I have a technical background, which includes both transportation analysis, but also funding mechanisms, quick builds and long-term project development, and maintenance oversight. I bring my experience, but also the desire and willingness to listen to experts, individuals in the larger community about community needs, as well as what is special about State Street to them. And I would be honored to serve on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, Ms. Sneddon, start us off.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Deutsch, for applying. So I think in a similar vein to the questions about a group representative versus your perspective that you clearly have expertise. And I just, hoping that you could answer, would you be equally open-minded to State Street not having bicycles, to it having bicycles, to it having pedestrians, to it reopening to cars, if we don't have a presupposed outcome? I mean, I think we know the direction it might be heading, but as a bicycle advocacy group, COAST, I'm wondering, if it doesn't go that way for whatever reason, what would you be bringing from your perspective, which I think you have plenty to bring. I'm just hoping you can sort of vocalize that beyond being a representative of a very particular perspective.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to highlight the very recent merger of the Coalition for Sustainable Transportation and SB Bike is the fact that one of the reasons that we came together is because we all equally understand the importance of having a multimodal transportation system. And so whereas, yes, we believe that bikes could really benefit State Street, it isn't the reason that we want to, as an organization representing the community, why we're interested in serving. And I've personally been asked because of my expertise in helping to bring all these different pieces together. If that answers it clearly enough.
It does. I mean, I see that in your application, and I was sort of hoping that would be part of your answer as well, because we have the cross circulation, we have other issues in there too. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for answering that.
I see in your application that you've developed architectural standards for historic neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you mentioned that and I missed it in your presentation. So you have done some planning as well.
Yeah, so actually my master's degree is in urban planning with a specialization in housing and community development, as well as some historic preservation. My father was an architect, so I grew up in the design world. And
Mm.
really, when I think about corridor planning, it's about creating a space where sort of the facades of the building are an important part of that space. So I think that's how they all start to come together.
Any other questions for this applicant? Ms. Deutsch, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great day all.
All right, see you later. Mr. Clerk?
Madam Mayor, our next applicant is Marge Caffarelli, tab number 62. And I am now elevating you to a panelist and sending you a request to turn on your webcam.
We see you, Ms. Caffarelli. Welcome. Oops, but we can't hear you. Sound?
There we go.
Good.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor and members of the Santa Barbara City Council and city staff. My name is Marge Caffarelli, and many of you know me as the developer of Alma del Pueblo and the Santa Barbara Public Market, which I completed. I started in 2009. We got approved in 2010. And we got our final HLC approval in 2011. We broke ground in June of 2012, and we had our certificate of occupancy for the public market in April of 2014 and the residential in June of 2014. I am not representing a group. I am here as someone who brings, I think, a lot of experience to the table. I've developed projects in Walnut Creek that required a general plan amendment and a PD rezoning for a 3-acre parcel downtown. I have been involved in historic resources in sensitive locations in the Bay Area, downtown San Francisco, and Oakland. I partnered with then Mayor Jerry Brown, who went on to be Attorney General and Governor of this great state of California, when he was the mayor of Oakland, in helping to bring 10,000 units to downtown Oakland. I'm a full member of the Urban Land Institute, have been since 2006. And I serve on the Sustainable Development Council of the Urban Land Institute. I also serve on the advisory panel services group for ULI, where I was asked to master plan. I was asked to be part of a team that master planned the South Campus of the University of Alberta at Edmonton. The city had grown out to where the South Campus was. The South Campus is a farm research facility, 300 acres. And so the city of Edmonton had grown into this area. And so they had moved the farm out further, and we were now master planning. I was part of a team to do that master planning selected by the Urban Land Institute. My company has developed, entitled, planned over 3 million square feet of mixed use developments over the last 21 years or so. I have been a resident of the city of Santa Barbara for 41 years, since 1980. And I have been doing this work for about 32 years. So all the gray hair you see, I think I've earned over that amount of time. I really do feel that what you are doing with this downtown master planning committee, you're to be commended, really, because we are, I believe, at an inflection point. It's a once in a generation opportunity. And this is the time to plan for the next 25, 35, 50 years for the city of Santa Barbara. And I think that having this in the palm of your hand right now is a very good thing. And I commend all of you for taking this as seriously as you have. One other thing I'd like to add is that I have been educating myself over the last several months, 6 months, in working with Jeff Schaefer at SB Act and touring homeless encampments and educating myself with members of city staff and county staff, and as to the issues that we are facing as it pertains to homelessness. I do believe that this is something that we will have to create strategies for in order for a downtown master plan to truly be successful. So I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. Ms. Sneddon?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Caffarelli, for your application. And I know you've done a lot to educate me actually on master planning processes, and I appreciate that and your expertise in that. Just to clarify a few things. So one you mentioned about sustainability and sustainable development. And if you could, I mean, that's one of those areas where we speak to, and it's in sort of the common visions of State Street. But if you could speak to sort of in development with the Alma project, how did that come up, or how do you see, maybe not even with that specific, but how do you see us integrating that into a full-scale plan? So that's one question. And the other is just to clarify, it's something I've asked other developers, how you would balance if you have current development interests with this long-term interest, or is that an issue for you at this juncture, or how you would balance that?
Sure, thank you, Council Member Sneddon. So my company, Urban Developments, back in 2006, I made a commitment that every project that we would engage in, either as an investor or as a developer, would embed sustainability in that project. And Alma del Pueblo, the residential is LEED Platinum. Not a lot of people know that. The homeowners certainly do, but it's a very, very high performance building. The Santa Barbara Public Market is actually LEED Gold. And we tried to achieve platinum, but it was a little more difficult because of the systems in place. Every single project that I invest in or would take on would need to have sustainability embedded from stem to stern. So I think there are a lot of opportunities that the city has, even from the standpoint of, where could the city also utilize, a photovoltaic, as we go through this plan? How can we incentivize, business owners potentially to do that? I don't, there are many steps in master planning and getting, I'd love to, I can give you certainly my opinion, but there definitely needs to be an audit done. We have many different challenges, I think, in Santa Barbara than other cities do. We have historic resources. We're talking about a downtown master plan that is in the most historic district of Santa Barbara, El Pueblo Viejo. And that's a very important piece of the downtown master planning process. So, we can talk about all the great things that, I've done in San Francisco and Walnut Creek and all of these places, but those things really conceptually might have something that we can contribute to what we're doing in Santa Barbara. But Santa Barbara is very different from a larger city. In terms of balancing my interests as a developer, I have no plans to develop another project in Santa Barbara. I have turned all of the management, day-to-day management of the Santa Barbara public market over to third-party management. I mean, I still get involved on certain things, but I am drawing back from any day-to-day management and really do want to get involved in these sorts of things. And let me just say that, you know, as a developer, oftentimes I don't share the same perspective as my colleagues in the development field. Many times I do share a perspective, but my perspective on, you know, sustainable development and creating livable cities, livable downtowns that the entire community can participate in, not just a few, really have a lot to do with engagement of the community. And I think those are the healthiest types of projects when the entire community can be engaged.
Thank you so much.
Other questions for Ms. Caporelli? We really appreciate your applying, and even the discussion through the questions is important. So thank you for that too.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank all of you.
Mr. Clerk?
Yes, Madam Mayor. The next applicant is Clay Orell, tab 13, followed by Dennis Whalen and Patrick Spence. Clay Orell, you have been elevated to the status of panelist, and I am now sending your webcam request.
We see you. Thank you. Oop,
Am I on?
you went away. You were there for a moment, Mr. Orell. There.
There it is. I guess good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Thanks for taking this on. As it's already been mentioned, as I was listening to other people, this is a Herculean task, and you guys have, I'm sure, a hard job in front of you. For going back to probably 2000, I stood in front of the then city council talking about closing State Street. I was working in the downtown core at that time. I'm actually still working in downtown. I'm on Haley Street, but was very involved with what was going on with conversations around closing State Street over 20 years ago. And as an architect, been an architect now for 25 years plus, studied urban planning in school, studied architecture, traveled extensively around the world, as well as this country that we live in, which has got many amazing things to see. I've always been impressed with Santa Barbara as a region. Obviously, our weather is the best in the world by far, and our downtown is coming up on a 100-year anniversary of the earthquake and the changing of the State Street aesthetic. And here we are, nearly 100 years later, with that question right in front of us. My practice, AB Design Studio, has, we employ about 25 people between our offices and work in all kinds of different areas and regions and locales. So a lot of our experience comes from seeing what happens in other areas, not just Los Angeles or Ventura or Camarillo, but we've gone as far as Michigan and Wyoming and New York. And I think what that's helped us do, or myself as an architect, is really look closely at urban fabric, at what's going on in other places. How are they dealing with homelessness? How are they dealing with the same sort of issues that Santa Barbara is dealing with? And how have they done projects like this, and have they been successful? Pearl Street in Boulder comes to mind, 3rd Street Promenade, and Santa Monica comes to mind, and there's hundreds of others, as we know. I've been involved with the local AIA chapter. I sat on the board for 8 or 9 years. I was president at one point, involved in all kinds of different committees and involvement with city government and city staff on the ENZO and long-range planning efforts. Recently, I own a business. I employ a bunch of people here in town. It's really hard to keep them here, but we're doing what we can. And I own a home here in town as well. I'm raising 2 daughters. So, trying to look long-term for me is, looking 30, 40, 50 years, how do we provide a community that my kids are going to be able to thrive in or hopefully even afford at that point. But it's a real concern of mine personally. It drives a lot of my involvement. I was on ABR for 4 or 5 years. It seems like a lifetime ago, but I've continued to be involved with the city on many different levels over the past probably 15 years. And I think it's important. I think the AIA did the big Charette master plan project that we recently was presented to the council. I was on the committee as well as participated in it. It was a pretty great event with some really interesting thoughts and ideas, and some of which I think have real legs and some of which are dreamy. And I think what's really valuable and important is that as a community, we're listening to not just the community. Of course, we have to listen to the community and members of the community that are involved, like architects and planners and landscape architects and engineers and traffic engineers and all those sorts of things are very valuable. I think what I try to bring to my experience and what I like to bring to these discussions is just the ability to listen intently, to participate, to be, thinking outside the box is something that people talk about a lot, but it's very, very valuable with something like this because there's not just one thing to solve. It isn't just removing cars from State Street. There's all sorts of things: emergency vehicles, stormwater management, bicycles, pedestrians, all things that have already been mentioned. So I won't elaborate too much on that. But I think it's a valuable time right now to really consider what the city's going to look like for the next 100 years, and how we're going to manage the downtown and how we're going to keep it successful as it has been for quite a while. And there was a question earlier about the vacancy downtown, and that's a big problem. There's lots of study around that and lots of different ideas and ways to solve it, but it's certainly something that we need to solve as a community, not just the council and not just planners and developers. It's a wide discussion, and I think what I'm hoping to bring to this committee is the ability to not only think outside the box, but listen and engage and be creative and help us all move this forward in a productive way.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Aram? We're going to vote you best background, I think. I really like that. Very cool.
I'll take it. It's in my office. It's a pinup board.
Great. Thank you so much for applying. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all very much. Have a great evening.
All right. Sure. Mr. Stout?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Our next applicant is Dennis Whalen, tab number 24. And Dennis Whalen, I have elevated you to the panelist status, and I'm now sending you your webcam request.
We can see you. Oop.
Very good.
Wait, you went away. Try again.
How about that?
We see you now.
Very good. Hold on a second here. Get my notes out. Mayor and council members, my name is Dennis Whalen. I currently serve on the Santa Barbara Architectural Board of Review. A sense of place is the relationship between people and spatial settings where they feel and can establish their own identity, knowing where they are and thus who they are. And that's what makes our city such a special one, known the world over. I've been fortunate to travel to cities all over the world, walking their main streets and thinking about what makes them successful or not. There are many factors, but a few key elements are necessary. Some characteristic of a geographic element and a feeling or a perception that foster a sense of authentic human belonging. And also of importance are childhood experiences, that a sense of belonging can begin with children attaching to a space. We have these, such as the Courthouse Sunken Gardens as a place where families gather to share experiences, and the Arlington Theater. So what should State Street become? Doubtless it's changed over the history of the city and will and should continue to change and reflect the way we see ourselves and live in the present. I also feel strongly there's evidence that pedestrian malls are not the singular urban design tool to shore up declining downtown retail sales. Of the 140 urban experiments of street closures in this country, only 45 remain. And there are some key elements that are revealed out of those remainders. I've spent half of my life here and plan to increase that percentage indefinitely. I'm now retired after a 30-year career on staff at UCSB Planning and Design, where I dealt with the development of a small city of 30 to 35,000 people. I'm an architect and urban planner by trade, and during that time, this involved lots and lots of meetings. I managed and served as the UCSB Campus Design Review Committee for most of that time, as well as being part of the developing the campus's long-range development plan. All of these efforts were done through the process of reading, studying, and listening and sharing ideas within a group to come to consensus. I thank you for this opportunity to apply for the committee.
You're welcome. Ms. Sneddon, question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Whelan. This is a question I probably wouldn't have asked yesterday, but in light of recent independent article about sort of how UCSB design is grown, but not with enough housing, and that there is an imbalance there. And if you see any parallels with what we're experiencing in State Street, or how that might, if it would inform what your thoughts might be for our downtown, and with your experience, and maybe I'm misunderstanding maybe your role in the UCSB planning, but that's a key element of a large space, and just curious on comments you might have on that.
Sure. Well, certainly every large bureaucracy has its own methods of decision making, and the university has theirs. Without getting into that, when I look at other successful streets and cities, they always incorporate housing. It's easy to look at European models, but they happened into this country too. And as part of the design charrette that the AIA offered that Mr. Aurel mentioned, I was part of that team too. Almost every team examined the need and opportunity for including housing as a way of putting people where not only they want to be, but the city at large wants them to be, to enjoy life and participate more readily in the city.
Thank you.
I don't see any other questions, sir. We appreciate you applying, and very good application. Thank you so much.
Certainly, you're welcome.
Okay. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Our next applicant is Patrick Spence, tab number 70, who will be followed by Andrew Bermant, Craig Minus, and Kathy King. And Patrick Spence, I am now elevating you to the status of panelist. And I am now sending you the request to turn on your webcam.
We see you, but we can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes,
Excellent.
welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Madam Mayor and esteemed council members. My name is Patrick Spence, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Sonos, the wireless audio company born in downtown Santa Barbara almost 20 years ago. We are proud residents of downtown Santa Barbara with approximately 300 people across our 3 offices, all within a block of State Street. Prior to the pandemic, myself and many of my colleagues were on State Street every day, purchasing coffee, lunch, dinner, doing a little shopping. Despite the fact our offices were closed through 2020, my family and I returned to State Street to support all the local businesses and restaurants when outdoor dining arrived. I was so inspired by the creativity and resilience displayed by the city and by the State Street businesses in the midst of the pandemic. The speed at which the city moved and the way the businesses adapted was absolutely incredible. I believe the core of the city sets the tone for the entire city, making residents proud and excited and bringing more visitors to Santa Barbara. We have an incredible opportunity to build on the creativity and innovation shown by State Street businesses throughout the pandemic. Given the importance of State Street to everyone in Santa Barbara and everyone at Sonos, I felt a responsibility to just offer help with this committee. I believe my experience and skills in building strategic plans, building products, customer insights, driving innovation, driving change, leading teams, communications, job creation, and collaboration would all be an asset to this committee. Thank you for your time and consideration and for your service to the city.
Thank you. Very nice. Ms. Snedden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Spence. So with your experience with sort of the different iterations of Sonos and what it's brought to downtown, what do you see as the next iteration, not maybe of Sonos, but of, we do get comments sometimes about tech jobs and what that might do with the shifting housing. Any big comments on that without holding you to it for what you might bring to the committee? Yeah,
it's a great question. You know, I think we all know we have a challenge around housing in Santa Barbara, and we were forced about 5 years ago we created a new office in Seattle to help attract a lot more software talent. And actually, of the first 30 people we had in our Seattle office, 15 were young people that had left Santa Barbara because they felt they would be able to afford a home in Seattle before they could afford a home in Santa Barbara, which is pretty stunning, given these are tech jobs, these are professional jobs, these are well-paying jobs. So it's a grave concern to me, and you know, maybe State Street and thinking about high density housing can be part of the solution here. So I would certainly be thinking about that and want to understand what could be done over the long term.
Thank you. And would you say, like, in your work capacity that you sort of have maybe a sense as things go forward on what housing needs for that particular niche might be, or is that something?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I feel I can represent the 300 people at Sonos very well, a lot of our fellow citizens as well. And I know you'd asked about separating sometimes your day job from being a citizen and being able to separate those two things. And I would just say to you, I think in my role, it's almost impossible to separate the two. I do think, you know, I live and breathe Sonos. So at the end of the day, that is something that I think is, it is what it is in coming with it. It's important for you to know, and I just want to be transparent about that as well.
I appreciate that. And I see too that you would, I mean, from having toured Sonos too, having an idea of the types of employees you're attracting and what their impediments are to housing, and then who you're losing to other places too. So I think that's a broad perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Mr. Spence, pleasure to have you with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great to see everybody. Take care.
Alrighty. Mr. Clerk.
Yes, Madam Mayor, our next applicant is Andrew Bermant, tab number 2. And Andrew Bermant, I have elevated you to the panelist position, and I am now sending your webcam request.
There you are. We see you, but we can't hear you yet.
Hopefully now you can hear me, yes?
Yes.
Good. Well, thank you, council members. I appreciate the opportunity to interview for this position here and working on State Street. I come from a broad experience in real estate. I've lived in the community now for 31 years, raised 2 sons and my family here. I've been in the commercial and residential real estate business for some 40 years. I own properties, I've developed properties, I work on the financing. I'm currently managing 700,000 square feet of retail shopping centers with national tenants such as ShopRite, TJ Maxx, Gap, Ross. Right now in negotiations with DSW. I'm also in the process of expanding one of our corporate office parks out in the Goleta Market, the Santa Barbara Corporate Center. So I have a fairly broad experience in the real estate industry. What I bring is I bring an opportunity or the ability to work with a wide range of people, whether it's design experts or it's local community members and groups, or even individual members of the public, to create projects that respond to the community and reflect our local community desires. One example is the Paseo Chapala project at 721 Chapala Street at De La Guerra. On that project, I worked with numerous members of the community as well as the city, and was able to take that project, 29 residential units and retail, through the process without any opposition at the end of the day. And that's the way that I approach projects. It's important to me that I gather a lot of input and work with community members to make certain that we're doing the right things that we can. The things that I think that are important for looking at the State Street corridor, the lower State Street corridor, is number one, considering what the anchor uses are for the Paseo Nuevo. How are we going to anchor that shopping center going forward, as well as that portion of State Street? Making certain that there are broad uses, be it office, retail, affordable and market rate housing in the downtown area. Sustainability and green design. As an example, I heard one of the other interviewees speak about, making certain that projects are LEED compatible. One project that we had done out in the airport, unfortunately didn't go forward, but it was a platinum LEED design project for Citrix at the time. Pedestrian accessibility, another major consideration. And that also comes along with public transportation. What are ways that we can enhance that State Street corridor with good public transportation? Creating a livable community, it's a broad term that we all use, but I worked in the past with the Rocky Mountain Institute, and so I come from that standpoint of trying to create a place where people want to go to, can walk and spend time, whether it's with their children or the younger generation, which I'm no longer part of. And then, of course, creating a visual and vibrant community or area that includes using art as a means of, visual stimulation, having active uses down there, and basically creating a State Street corridor or the lower State Street area that reflects really the values of the city.
Okay, thank you. Questions? What was the Rocky Mountain group that you referred to?
Rocky Mountain Institute was started by John Denver before he passed away, and it took the lead. It really began the process of green design. They were at the forefront of implementing model technologies and design techniques to create environmentally sustainable projects.
Oh,
So
I'll take a look. Any other questions? Mr. Berman, thank you so much. We appreciate you applying.
you're welcome.
I know we have more people.
Yes, Madam Mayor, our next applicant is Craig Minus, tab number 15, followed by Kathy King, Michael Becker, Crosby Slot, and Eve Sanford. Craig Minus, I am now elevating you to the status of panelist, and I am now sending you a request to turn on your webcam.
We see you. Let's try your audio.
There we go.
Yes, go ahead, please.
All
Welcome.
good. All good. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm excited about this opportunity, and I thank the council for considering me for this committee. I have reviewed the desired qualifications and time commitment requirements, and I am able to devote myself if appointed. I'm excited about being part of a team who together aims to guide the master plan. I have experience working in professional and group environments where various opinions and backgrounds and passions come together for a greater good. These include participation on numerous community charrettes, workshops, and educational events, participation on board of directors, including the Goleta Chamber of Commerce, the Central Coast Home Builders Association, Pony Baseball, and various homeowners associations. Very similar to the State Street Master Plan, I participated as a member of the public in the Eastern Goleta Valley Community Plan. I think almost all 60 plus meetings they had. So I have firsthand experience in such a public participation effort. I'd like to be on the State Street Advisory Committee to contribute to a community that is so important to me. I believe I have the education and professional background which can significantly contribute to this land use effort. I will bring my educational background, which includes an advanced degree in city and regional planning, along with my professional experience in transportation planning, urban design, economic feasibility, and real estate development. My professional career offered me the opportunity to operate in the Santa Barbara area for over the last 20 years. This includes experience with the Santa Barbara Metropolitan Transit District, Barry Burkus Design Studio, and the Tobes Group. Today, I operate my own consulting firm, CAM Land Use and Development, so I will bring all of these experiences to the table. I've also been a longtime housing advocate and a previous board member and president of the board for the Coastal Housing Coalition. Currently, I do serve as the executive director for the Coastal Housing Coalition, and I have support of the current board to participate on the State Street Advisory Committee. I think my understanding of market rate housing, workforce housing, affordable, capital A and lowercase a, housing will be important to this master plan. Together, I think my background provides a broad perspective, which will be of value to the State Street Master Plan effort. On a personal level, I'm married to my college sweetheart, whom I met at UCSB, go Gauchos. We're raising 3 boys, 9, 12, and 14. So this summer, you'll probably find me at the baseball field. Thank you for this opportunity to give back and do my part in contributing to the future of State Street. This is a grand effort, which without a doubt is very timely and appropriate, and I commend your council for initiating this effort. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. Questions for Mr. Minus? Good, solid presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We know you, sir. Yeah, thank you. Alrighty. Next applicant.
Yes, Madam Mayor, our next applicant is Kathy King. Kathy King, I have elevated you to be a panelist, and I am now sending you your request to turn on your webcam.
We can't hear you though. Kathy, Ms. King, we can see you, but can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I thought it was an automatic thing. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. My screen was frozen for like the past hour, so I wasn't sure if it was gonna work. So, yay. Technology. Hello. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name is Kathy King, and I have been on staff at the Community Environmental Council since 2008, and we recently moved to 1219 State Street. We want to be good neighbors and play an active role in the revitalization of the downtown corridor. Our new building is a very large space with a lot of potential for public gatherings. We are pleased to join the State Street facing family at a time when the street is evolving. I personally love the street closure and the community feeling that it is creating. I also love the new bike share program, and once we're back at work regularly, I do plan to use that often. We at CEC would like to be involved with development and implementation of sustainability measures downtown, like that bike share. A big one for me personally is waste reduction. We know that we can reduce waste, especially single-use products, while assuring that businesses continue to thrive. A cleaner State Street is important for locals, tourists, and our environment, particularly our marine environment. Public access is currently top of mind for us at CEC. We partnered with City Parks and Rec and a local foundation to bring bottle filling water stations to Alameda Park and Shoreline Parks, and they are going to be installed soon and will bring water access back to the commons while reducing waste. We did another big project earlier this year designed to bring art back into common spaces. The Earth Day mural at Paseo Nuevo is on display for anyone to visit. Since 2015, I had been commuting to work by bike, so I have a personal connection and desire to make sure that we have safe spaces for active transit. For the past 20 years, I've been involved with local schools, serving on PTA boards for over 10 years. I'm currently on the Santa Barbara School District Sustainability Committee. I'm also on the board of the Montecito Association, where I serve on the executive committee and have served as co-chair of the Village 4th celebration for the past several years. I think I would bring a unique perspective to this committee with extensive nonprofit staff and board experience and a professional and personal commitment to sustainability. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. King. Covered a lot of ground there. Ms. Sneddon?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. King. You touched on it, and then I guess I do want to make the delineation between representing CEC or really you mentioned so many other broad experiences that you have also on school boards and working, and I'm really hoping that you might talk a little bit more about yesterday's, I think it was yesterday's webinar with the arts, and you talked about the mural, but that intersection with the arts and sustainability and downtown, and if you could just highlight some of that cross-sectionality for us also.
Sure, yes, thank you. And I have full support of CEC staff and our CEO to participate on this, but I understand that I will be participating as an individual as well. I think we have, two big windows at 1219 State Street that we plan to use for displays. We displayed the Santa Barbara Channel Keeper Youth Student Art Contest after Earth Day. There wasn't a whole lot of foot traffic then, but I think now, there's foot traffic there. So we have an opportunity there for public displays of art. Also, I'm really encouraged by the Makers Library that recently opened because it's a workshop gathering space on State Street that provides an alternative to retail and food. I mean, we need all the retail and food, but if you want people to go down there and stay down there and have a reason to connect with each other and hang out for a while, we don't have the lobby at Borders or Barnes and Noble anymore. So I think that the spaces like the Makers Library are really important to, a thriving, versatile downtown.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. King? We really appreciate you applying. Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
Is there another applicant?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Our next applicant is Michael Becker, tab number 63. And Michael Becker, you are now elevated to be a panelist. And I am now sending you a request to turn on your webcam.
We,
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor Maria and council members. My name is Mike Becker, and I'm a resident of San Roque neighborhood in Councilmember Friedman's district. I'm interested in one of the 7 unaffiliated or at-large positions. I'm willing to take on the responsibilities associated with the membership. And as was mentioned by many other applicants, I agree that you have had a lot of highly qualified people apply, and regardless of how you end up deciding, you'll end up with a good committee. I have a combination of professional experience and personal interests that I believe would make me a good fit for the committee. Professionally, I'm the Director of Planning for the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments, or SBCAG. It is my responsibility to manage the development of plans and bring them to a board for adoption. Through my role, I view planning professionals as facilitators of the creation of plans and not the actual creators. Successful plans represent the voice of the community. Planners can have a voice in the process, but it should not outweigh that of other participants in the process. One of the things I would do with the committee is work to ensure all segments of the Santa Barbara population are engaged and given equal weight in the process. For the long-term success of the resulting plan, it is imperative that we represent the voice of the entire community. It will also make your job easier in the future when this comes for your adoption, knowing that the entire community had their voice heard in the resulting process. Being a planner is my dream job. There's no job I'd rather do. I became interested in planning by traveling the world while in the Navy and observing the way people interact with their environments and the relationship between population and environments and how they impact one another. It is also a profession that I find interesting because it enables you to be part of shaping the future. Prior generations of Santa Barbarans have defined what State Street is today. I look forward to being part of the conversation for how it will look for the next generation. This is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I imagine that if the result of the process is good, it will likely be 20 or 30 years before the process is revisited. On the personal side, I'm the father of 2 young daughters. I'm an avid road cyclist, though I also enjoy pedaling around the city on a beach cruiser. I've lived in Pittsburgh, PA, Pensacola, Florida, San Diego, California, Monterey, California, the Bay Area, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and finally Santa Barbara. My wife is German, so I've had the opportunity to spend considerable amounts of time in Europe while observing the attributes of numerous cities. Between my time in the Navy, spending time in Germany, and personal travels, I consider myself to be fairly well traveled. For Councilmember Snedden, based on comments or questions from prior rounds of the interviews, I'm an advisor to the Bicycle Coalition's Board of Directors, and my wife and I jointly are the Safe Routes to School coordinators for our younger daughter's elementary school. I assisted both the city and UCSB on the respective bike share selection committees, as well as having served as an advisor to numerous planning projects. For Councilmember Gutierrez, and regarding the 400 block, first, I agree that the underpass experience can be softened, which was mentioned by others. And I know that the city will be advancing a project, excuse me, next year to do just that. As a cyclist, I feel there's a conflict when coming up the 400 block. All motorists turn right at Haley, and most cyclists go straight, creating that conflict. I believe there may be a possibility to reverse the traffic flow on that 400 block, though it would also need to be coupled with providing 2-direction traffic on Gutierrez between State and Santa Barbara. But the benefit of that is it would allow the traffic signals to better manage the conflicting demands, being motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists. In conclusion, I see this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As a planner, I don't believe there will be a more interesting planning project underway in the foreseeable future. And this is one that I could jump in, being that there's no conflict with my day job. As a father, I appreciate the opportunity to be part of the process that will define State Street for the next generation. I'm happy to take any questions.
very good. Questions for Mr. Becker? He anticipated our questions. My goodness. Threw in some traffic engineering. I like it. Mr. Becker, thank you. Thanks for being here with us on a Thursday afternoon. Glad you applied.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Next applicant.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Presently, we have 6 remaining applicants waiting to be interviewed. Our next applicant is Crosby Slot, tab number 16, who will be followed by Eve Sanford, Nathan Vonk, Sally Foxon, Kim Cochran, and Susan Steindler. Crosby Slot, I am now elevating you to the status of panelist. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Slot. I have just a problem here with the status. Well, my apologies, Mr. Slot. For now, perhaps we can move on to our next candidate, who will be Eve Sanford, and we will return to Crosby Slot. Eve Sanford, I have elevated you to a panelist, and I am now sending you the request to turn on your webcam.
And she's tab number.
Oh, my apologies.
31.
Sanford is tab number 30.
30. We see you, Miss Sanford. Welcome. Oh, but we can't hear. Can you turn your microphone on?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and City Council members. I want to echo what Michael Becker said about just like the sheer quality of candidates, and I do not envy the decision-making process ahead of you guys, but I'm hopeful you'll have a great committee. I'm excited about this because I think we're on the precipice of a really exciting time in Santa Barbara and having a really important conversation about our community's needs and well-being along the State Street corridor. And I'm excited to offer a fresh but really interconnected perspective, and I'm willing and available to serve on the committee. I'm a young professional with 8 years of experience working in transportation planning, policy, project development, and community outreach in a variety of cities facing similar challenges and opportunities as Santa Barbara. I bring both technical skills, but also experience working in shared mobility, public space design, and in project development in a number of cutting edge and creative cities over the past 8 years. I have 5 years of experience working on transportation projects in Santa Barbara, including as the former policy coordinator of SB Bike and a current board member of the newly merged SB Bike and Coalition for Sustainable Transportation organization, as well as 4 years of experience on the Transportation Circulation Committee. My experience in Santa Barbara also includes doing quite a bit of community outreach and volunteering and working intersectionally with a variety of community groups, including policy and civic research for Healing Justice Santa Barbara, helping to put on the summer solstice celebration, working alongside housing and social justice advocates. And in addition, I'm friends and active in a number of DIY riding groups, including the Santa Barbara Rollers and Cycle SB riding groups. Lastly, I've had the pleasure of being mentored and have learned so much from former Planning Commissioner John Campanella. What's unique about me is that I'm networked and have worked alongside a number of different community members and leaders. And to that point, I'd like to clarify that I'm interested in one of the at-large positions. At the same time, my TCC experience and other projects in Santa Barbara have made me very familiar with the city's history, some of our ongoing major capital projects, our long-term vision around housing affordability, smart growth, economic well-being, and transportation safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Sanford? We know you, I think, so no questions. But we really appreciate the work you do in the community, and thank you for applying for the position.
Thanks, Kathy. Thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you. Is Mr. Slot coming back, or who's next?
Yes, Madam Mayor. My understanding is Mr. Slot is logged in through his cell phone. So I don't know if we'll be able to establish a video, but Crosby Slot, I have unmuted you, and we will be able, I believe we are now connected with your audio.
All right, can y'all hear me?
We hear you just fine, sir, so go ahead.
All right. Apologize on the inability. I don't have a actual computer with a camera on it. Although on the younger side, I haven't quite gotten there yet. My name's Crosby Slot. I am a lifetime Santa Barbarian. I was born and raised here, left for a bit to go to school and lived professionally in Los Angeles and San Francisco. I worked in commercial real estate in those cities, as well as here in Santa Barbara in my current position as the Director of Leasing and Acquisitions for Investec Real Estate. In this role, a lot of my day-to-day life really is downtown Santa Barbara. Along with downtown Santa Barbara and some of our other shopping centers, my job focuses on speaking with tenants, curating centers to be cohesive and dynamic, creating symbiosis between our tenants, as well as taking into, the ownership standpoint and understanding what it takes to run a center like this or a downtown buildings or a shopping center up to a couple 100,000 square feet. So I think I have a very unique understanding of both sides of the coin, really, and seeing what tenants need to thrive in a downtown like Santa Barbara, as well as what building owners are looking for. As well as the leasing side, I also focus on acquisitions, which involves evaluating a lot of downtown buildings, developments, redevelopments, as well as, especially now, looking for ways to repurpose buildings for multifamily uses that can help the need that we have here in Santa Barbara. On a personal side, I sit on the board for the Museum of Contemporary Art as the treasurer and on the executive committee. And I'm excited to see, actually, of a lot of arts that have come to downtown Santa Barbara, the Melanin Project that has come here recently, and excited for the opportunity to work on this project and bring some of the expertise that I have.
We appreciate you applying. Are there questions for Mr. Sly? Thank you so much for applying, sir. I don't see any questions, and you have an extensive application. We'll take that into consideration too, so thank you. All right. Another candidate?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Our next candidate is Nathan Vonk, tab number 67. And Nathan Vonk, I am elevating you to the status of panelist. And I am now sending the request for you to turn on your webcam.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
We see you and hear you, so go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Nathan Vonk. I'm the owner of Sullivan Goss Gallery. I've worked here since 2008, and I've been the owner since 2017. I have also spent 8 years serving on the Arts Advisory Committee to City Council, including a spell as co-chair. And I'm on the board and I'm past president of the Santa Barbara Arts Collaborative, which recently negotiated a long-term lease for the Community Arts Workshop on Garden and Ortega. In addition, I was also an early organizer of the Creative Community Project, which was a project organized by arts and culture stakeholders to create a cultural arts master plan for the county of Santa Barbara. And worked on that during phase 1 and phase 2 when we did most of the data collection and reaching out to stakeholders throughout the county. Given that experience, I think that I hope to bring to this committee an ability to help bring arts and creative spaces into whatever we decide to do with downtown, so that we can use those spaces and art to accentuate the uniqueness of this particular community and differentiate it from other similar beach towns, and emphasize the unique qualities of Santa Barbara specifically. I also live downtown. I'm raising my family downtown. I'm a avid user of the B-cycles since they've been put out on State Street. I walk down State Street from the gallery to the end of the pier at least once a week, just to see what's going on and see how it has transformed. And I'm very, very excited about the things that I'm seeing. And I'm a huge fan of the closing of State Street, in particular in the way in which I see it bringing back locals to the area. And and I really hope that what we do here as a committee can help to balance that desire to bring locals and tourists together in a place that we can all enjoy and raise families and thrive. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Thanks. Ms. Sneddon?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Fong, for applying. And I think, I mean, your credentials in the art expertise and locals and living and broad experience with downtown are clear. And I'm hoping you might also comment on the physical space of the gallery. And again, not to hold you to any position on this, but you're really right at that kind of critical space with De La Guerra Plaza and the closures, and just without going into what your conclusion might be on that, just how might that inform what you could offer also to the committee in terms of just speaking to that?
Can you be more specific about what that De La Guerra Plaza? We're fairly far from De La Guerra Plaza on Anapamu Street, but I mean, in general, I think
Library Plaza. Forgive me, Library.
Oh, yeah, Library Plaza. Oh, I can't wait for it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, we've had the museum construction going on for 4 years, which is the entirety of this space in which I've owned the gallery, and so I'm equally excited for that to be done. But and I'm not. I'd be lying if I said I was excited about having more years of construction immediately across the street. However, I do see that as the sort of short-term pain that will lead towards something I'm super excited about. And I do plan on being part of that whenever they ask for commentary from neighbors. I've shown up for a couple of meetings about it. And I'm good friends with some of the staff over there. So I'm very excited about the whole thing. And you know, I'm young enough and hope to be here long enough that I will benefit greatly from what ends up happening in that space, even if I have to sit through a few years of construction in the meantime.
Thank you. And I see that as sort of an interesting cross-sectionality, also the physical space, but also the arts in downtown and that perspective as well. Thank you.
Of course.
And you're a business owner, right, in the downtown area too. So we'll take that into consideration, Mr. Moore.
Exactly, yes.
Thank you for everything you do for the arts, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time.
Okay. Thanks. Another applicant, Mr. Stowe?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Our next applicant is Sally Foxon, tab number E. And Sally Foxon, you have been elevated to the status of panelist. And I am now sending the request for you to turn on your webcam.
We don't see you yet, Ms. Foxon.
Oh, here we go. Here's the little thing.
Well, good, we hear you though.
Okay, great. Here I am. Yay. Thank you. I want to say first that it's very strange sitting on this side of the camera. So, and I'm reading from a script, which I typically do not do. So wish me luck. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Murillo and council members. I am Sally Foxon, and I'm here as a private citizen. I am a native of Santa Barbara. My family has been here since the 1800s, and my indigenous roots extend even further. My volunteerism and promotion of the city has always been forefront. In 1984, I served as the Santa Barbara Language Bank Coordinator for the 1984 Los Angeles Summer Olympics. Most people don't know or have forgotten that Santa Barbara played a part in Olympic history that year by hosting the board sailing exhibition at East Beach and the Pavilion, while the Athletes Olympic Village was at UCSB. I am a very proud Don and serve on the board of directors of the Santa Barbara High School Alumni Association. As a volunteer, and this is probably the most fun I've ever had as a volunteer, was a cruise ship ambassador for the city. I had the best time talking with cruise ship passengers, giving them sightseeing tips, and bragging about our city. I have also proudly served on the Neighborhood Advisory Council for more than 10 years. While an academic advisor at UCSB, I worked with students of different ethnicities and races, international students, students of varied socioeconomic backgrounds, including children of migrant farm workers to children of some of Hollywood's best-known celebrities. I was asked by various student groups to serve as their advisor and was appointed by the chancellor and vice chancellor to serve on various campus committees. I also curated the annual staff art show on campus for many years. I will bring a very unique and fresh perspective to this committee. I am not a developer, I am not an architect, nor do I own a business on State Street. What I do have, however, is a genuine love for and intimate knowledge of the city I grew up in. I believe Santa Barbara must remain a welcome and vibrant community for all its citizens, not just those who live in the well-to-do areas of town or the suburbs, not just for the weekenders or folks who summer here, not just for the tourists, but for the everyday people who live and work here. These are the very people who keep the city alive. You know, I've seen a few of the interviews on the committee, especially this afternoon. And one thing that has bothered me is that very few people talk about bringing residents back downtown. Many people have talked about tourism, you know, which is fine because we do need that. But who is going to go to your restaurant or your store on a Wednesday evening in February? It's the locals, it's the residents. Tourists will always come here, but it's the residents who will sustain the city. My vision of the future of State Street is very simple. Retain the history, the charm, the nobility of State Street, but in an updated version. Bringing in ongoing cultural arts, music, and performing arts will bring people downtown again. We will soon have 2 new plazas to host events, the Library Plaza, De La Guerra Plaza. So my suggestion is to use these venues to bring our neighbors back to State Street. In doing so, we have to remember that the demographics of the city has changed since the last overhaul of State Street. You must keep all residents in mind when making changes. Many people I know prefer to go out of town to see stage performances, concerts, lectures, dine and shop because they are, and I'm quoting this, because they're tired of the same old stuff here. I'd suggest using some of the vacant storefronts on State Street as pop-up cultural spots to help keep locals in town. To get back to the city, I know a few of you are aware that my husband and I rented the space at 1219 State Street in February 2019 to host the first ever Santa Barbara Black Culture House. We had a constant flow of attendees of different hues and ages each Saturday and Sunday as we brought something new and different events to town. At one event, we had no less than 350 attendees. Through confession, we had people from Lompoc to Oxnard who came to Santa Barbara for these events as well. And I know I'm already out of time, but when I was in 7th grade, my parents and I go to Leon's Restaurant, which was then in the 600 block of State Street, on Friday nights for an early dinner. After dinner, I was allowed to walk 2 blocks down to 25 West Gutierrez Street to the roller skating rink. And yeah, it was safe. It was safe for a kid to do that back then. I walked home from high school on State Street. My friends and I went to movies, shops, clubs, and restaurants on State Street as my husband and I do now. In the early 80s, the beloved State Movie Theater, and keep getting that wrong. I keep wanting to call it the State Street Movie Theater, was closed down. And soon after, a video arcade was born at 1219 State Street. And there's a theme here with 1219. Folks of all ages were there day and night. And I played Miss Pac-Man all the time. I give you these examples to demonstrate how to bring residents back downtown. Simply give them something to do. Cultural arts, music, book fairs, poetry slams, puppet shows, activities for the young and old, street fairs, etc. And I realize that some of these have been done before here in town, but those were typically just the one and done and not to be done again. People may decide to try restaurants they've been hearing about, or they may see something in a store window that they can't live without when they come down here to see those other events. When residents come back to State Street, everything else will fall in place. In addition, thank you. In addition to the committee's primary charge, I would suggest consulting with students from the city's Arts Alliance program, the differently abled community residents, students from the Multimedia Arts and Design Academy program at Santa Barbara High School, the LGBTQIA+ community, the Trust for Historic Preservation, etc. Please don't leave anyone out. In all of the planning, the city must be inclusive and actively be culturally and racially sensitive. What one might not find to be culturally or racially offensive may actually offend an entire group of people unwittingly. And I'm almost done. I'm really almost done. In reformulating State Street, the committee must also look at Anacapa and Chapala streets, as well as the downtown cross streets. These streets are largely overlooked in development discussions and have valuable assets to help revitalize downtown. If a more holistic approach is taken and the proper reciprocity is employed, traffic, businesses, parking, and the ability for pedestrians to maneuver safely must be looked at as well. Changes on State Street have either beneficial or adverse effect on the area immediately surrounding it, and any State Street planning must take this into account. And finally, State Street is what gives life to this city. It always has, it always will. And being on this committee would make me and my ancestors proud. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Foxen. Really appreciate the information too that you're giving us. I really appreciate that. Question for this applicant? Okay. Ms. Foxen, thank you so much for applying. We really appreciate, and your work on the Neighborhood Advisory Council. Really appreciate that. So
thank you very much.
Couple more people, I think.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have 2 additional applicants remaining to be interviewed. Our next applicant is Kim Cochran, tab 57, who will be followed by Susan Steindler. And Kim Cochran, I have elevated you to the status of panelist, and I will now be sending you the request to turn on your webcam.
We see you, Ms. Cochran, but we don't hear you. One more button, one more button. Mr. Stowe, we cannot hear her. Is there something you can do on your end?
Here we go.
There.
Here we go. Sometimes the computer is smarter than I am. All the time, the computer is smarter than I am. Okay, so first of all, thank you for your time. I know you've had quite a few applicants. And now I'm trying to find my cheat sheet. So let's see if I'm successful with that. And I am not. So here we go. We're going to ad-lib, guys, okay? So please forgive me. I had everything written out.
you
So
sure?
I'm not your typical, I'm not your typical applicant. I don't have a lot of initials behind me. I don't have degrees behind me. My degree was from a university that was accredited, but then they lost their accreditation. So I'm ashamed of it. But what I will say is that I was involved with the AIA charrette, and that has changed me. For the past 2 years, I've been looking at the city of Santa Barbara, I'm not gonna lie, for work. But as I've been watching all these movies and how all these departments work together and what you have ahead of you, I am fascinated. And I would love to be a part of the solution that brings all of these sectors together. I do believe in housing. I believe we do need that luxury housing. Absolutely we do, because we're not going to be able to get the investors in. But we also need housing that the average person and the average worker in Santa Barbara can afford. We need housing that is going to help the differently abled. And we definitely need to go bigger, but we can do it smart. We can do it intelligently, and we can actually research case studies of other cities to see what they have done, to see what has been a success. Do I bring ideas? I have lots of ideas, but I don't want to present them unless you ask me for them, because I haven't engaged the community yet. I haven't engaged the stakeholders. We haven't talked with the rest of the committee to see where they come from. What do I bring? I'm going to bring my work ethic. I'm going to bring my drive. I'm going to bring my passion. And I'm also able to work on a team environment. But let me tell you, I do not shirk responsibility. I welcome it. This position takes more than 4 hours every other month to attend a meeting. It is going to take hours upon hours of engagement, of research, of talking, and of meetings. And I want to do it. I want to be the voice for the community that is afraid to stand up, that is afraid to say things. And I want to actually, support the ideas that they want. Are we going to please everybody? Absolutely not. And we're all lying to ourselves if we think that we can. We have too many different visions. We have too many different needs. But I do believe that this is what this committee can do, is that we can all come together and we can actually find something that's going to help the majority of our citizens. When I was in the AIA charrette, I started going around to the businesses, asking them what they wanted. What do they want to see? One business owner, that was Nathan Bonk. What he said to me was, plan for the locals because the tourists will come. We keep our beauty. We keep our history. We plan for the locals. That is the sustainability of Santa Barbara. Make it an urban environment, not just retail. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from Ms. Cochran? I guess you've been notified you were appointed to the Arts Advisory Committee, ma'am?
That hasn't been official, but that's wonderful. Yay!
I'm looking at my tally sheet, so you got that one. But thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. And the other thing also is that, I'm not going to bring an ego to this. There's other people far more qualified for this. Absolutely there are. But you know what? I want to be part of the working committee. I want to be the one that helps you research. I want to be the one that compiles information to say, these are the options. These are what people want. This is what businesses want. This is what the council wants. These are the policies that we need to change. These are the ordinances that need to change. These are, everything from permitting. So that's pretty much about it. So do I compare to the other applicants? Absolutely not. And you have a tough decision, and what a wonderful problem to have.
Well, we thank you, and thanks for your spirited presentation. We needed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
One more person, Mr. Stow.
Yes, Madam Mayor. The next applicant on our list is Susan Steindler, who is tab number K.
Very good. We can see you, but we can't hear you. Ms. Steinle. Mr. Stowe, can you help?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Presently, the application indicates the Susan is self-muted.
Keep pushing buttons, Ms. Steinberg.
Hello, am I there?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Hi, what a group. It's I am just delighted to hear all the people that are applying. I haven't heard every single one, but if today is any sample, like everyone's saying, I mean, I have ideas of who you should pick, but I have kind of a multidisciplined background. I think in my application, I mainly talked about some of the background that I have in the city of Portland, which was quite a few years ago before I moved to Santa Barbara. And I was involved with a community development corporation that owned over 100 mostly single family homes that were purchased by a city initiative. And I worked on actually rehabbing their derelict homes that were in neighborhoods that were a little bit sketchy, but by now have been totally gentrified. So we were working kind of against time to make them affordable rentals, but at the same time, the scale of what's happening in Portland was moving kind of in the same direction as Santa Barbara, but hardly like what we have here. So, and my experience in the Bureau of Planning was really as a person who had a design and architecture background, which is what I have. And I'm mainly professionally an interior designer with a master's in architecture and urban planning from the University of Oregon. So I've been on all sides. I've worked in corporate, large corporations. I used to work for Payne Weber as a project manager, and I've worked for large architecture and engineering firms. My focus really is housing and affordable housing and mixed use. And the project I'm most proud of that I worked on for the city of Portland was called the Zoning Toolkit. And what we're really doing is making a design guideline that would eventually amend some codes. And of course, parking was a big part of that. And at that time, we were really looking at the streetscape, which is again, what we looked at when I was the team leader of Corridor C in our recent AIA charrette, which was absolutely fabulous. So I've been on a lot of different sides of not only the profession, but also nonprofit, for-profit, and also the public arena. And I think what I would be most interested in helping in is, resources, how to give incentives, for instance, the parklet situation, how to give incentives and funding to business owners to get them the tools they need to, comply with a design guideline or code, whatever gets decided on. And I think because of my multidisciplinary background, I can speak to a lot of different people and not get bogged down. And I have a large scale perspective as well as an interior designer, very small scale detail and understanding of what makes not only a city work, but what makes housing work. And I echo some of the previous people. I truly believe that bringing more residential, a more residential element to downtown is going to solve some, not all, of our problems. And I'm very interested in how we do that and want to be a part of it. And I think, this is a fabulous opportunity. You have a huge array of people. And I think that some of the other people that have talked about, marrying the history of Santa Barbara along with what is the future and the idea of bringing locals back into downtown. I think that's where I'm at. And I met Kathy Murillo before she was mayor, and I talked her into buying sandwiches for everybody in our charrette. So I must be good at something. I don't know if you remember me.
That's a good memory.
Please.
Thanks, Ms. Steinler.
Okay.
Really appreciate your experience and your application. Are there questions for her, please? All right. It looks like there's no questions, but thank you so much. And thanks for doing your work with the charrette too.
Yes, it was a wonderful experience. And I think it was a great opportunity to also use spaces downtown that were open, that were rather closed, that we managed to get a presence there and have our exhibition. I was very proud of that.
Good.
So thank you, everybody.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks so much. So Mr. Stowe and Mr. Ramirez, just confirming that was our last person.
Yes, Madam Mayor, there are no additional applicants on our list in the waiting room.
So stand by, Mr. Ramirez. Let me ask if there's any open public comment. I had said earlier that people would be able to do public comment. Anyone raising their hand? Mr. Clerk?
No, Madam Mayor. Presently, no attendees indicating they'd like to provide a public comment.
Okay. So thanks to everyone who applied. And I guess what I would say, my council members are, welcome to make some closing remarks too, is that if you don't get chosen, please participate as a member of the public. And we will have a robust public engagement element related to the State Street Advisory Committee. We've already have tons of good ideas just from the interviews. For those of you who managed to interview and if you thought of anything that you forgot to mention, write us an email if there's something else, because we won't be choosing for another month or so. So there's more time to give us information or to tell us why you should be chosen. Did you? I guess the reason why I asked Mr. Ramirez to stand by, because I was going to ask how we appointed to a prior commission, is the city council gave us every council member turned in a short list. They said, okay, wonderful people applying, but I think we've narrowed it down to so many. But I think we have someone who did show up, Mr. Ramirez. So let's put that conversation on hold for 1 minute. And Mr. Howe, someone is in the audience wanting to speak. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Kevin Dumaine is an attendee. And Mr. Dumaine, I can unmute you. And I just wanted to confirm that you were here to interview for the advisory committee.
I believe he's already interviewed, and he is not wanting to ask a question after all, Madam Mayor.
Oh, okay. Well, we didn't want to leave anybody behind, so I'm glad that we paused to ask that.
Yeah,
So
he
Mr.
interviewed on June 22nd.
Okay, thanks. So Mr. Ramirez, that's what we did, right, for the last commission where we had a lot of applicants. Can you tell us?
Correct. So you had about 70 applicants interview for this advisory committee. You'll have 15 spots available, including 3 council members, not including 2 alternates in addition to that. And so we can take the same approach that we took with the Community Formation Commission, which was staff created a link for the council to weigh in on their top choices, and we looked for any overlap for some of those candidates. We can take the same approach if you would like. As I've mentioned before, and some of the applicants mentioned as well, there's an abundance of passionate, qualified, people that are interested in this committee. You have a difficult choice, difficult, road ahead to try to narrow it down, but anything that we can do to kind of help make that process easier, we're happy to do.
The process for the other commission went very smoothly, so I look forward to doing that process again. Ms. Bjork, something from you before we go to our council members?
Mayor Murillo, yes, just that we have a slightly different situation in that the other commission was just one body. Here you've got representatives of various groups that you're trying to, so we'll take some time thinking about how to put that together for you, because certainly it did work well. And I think we'll come up with something to allow you to give the input ahead of time and also give it with a context for the different types of representation you're looking for.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jordan, closing remarks, Mr. Gutierrez, and then Ms. Sneddon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to echo your comment, which seems like a long time ago now, that there are a lot of, way more than the 10 people that we're actually going to pick that are qualified, and each have not conflicting, but different areas of expertise that some overlap, some don't, some are really strong. And these meetings are all going to be public meetings, these advisory committee meetings, and there still is plenty of opportunity. And I think, I hope we continue to really state that up front, that we welcome participation, even if you aren't a selectee on this advisory committee. And to the end of the comment of people who are thinking of something to say, I still have 3 or 4 more phone calls already scheduled between now and the 20th. And it's a bit of inside baseball for people who play in the areas of boards and commissions, but there is nothing prohibiting any applicant who would wish to engage a little more with a council member or 2 or 3 or whatever, and get a little more knowledge that wasn't like kind of in the frame of a 1-inch square on camera and, oh my God, it's my only moment. I'm personally happy to talk to anybody some more if they'd like to contact our office, and I won't speak for anybody else, but I would imagine that nobody would have a problem hearing from candidates who would like to chat a little more. Thanks.
Good point. And not everybody enjoys public speaking. So Mr. Gutierrez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I just want to thank all the applicants. Like one of the applicants commented earlier, this is a good problem that we have in our hands and it's going to be a lot of problem solving on our part to figure out who the finalists are going to be. And I just want to echo Councilmember Jordan's encouragement of the applicants to reach out to us individually and have more one-on-one discussions about their plans and opinions and ideas for State Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sneddon, your comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree completely with colleagues, and I just wanted to be a little bit careful with something that Ms. Bjork said about which categories and that knowing that we're looking for categories. I'm not sure that that's the case. I would be a little bit careful about pigeonholing anybody into a category. I know we specified 4 business perspective people, but beyond that, I think it was just broad. So
referring to the 1 planning commissioner, 1 HLC person.
And those have already been appointed.
Yeah.
So those have been appointed, and then we'll have the 3 council members appointed. And then I believe if council member Jordan is still here, was the one who made the request, I think, for 3 to 4 business perspective people. But beyond that, I think, I'm not sure we're trying to fill any special categories. I just wanted to be careful about that so that we're not pigeonholing people who might have broad applicability. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So I'm confirming that we will be making these appointments on July 20th. When we come back. So when we adjourn our meeting today, we're taking a short hiatus, and we'll be back at our work, at least with city council meetings on Tuesday, July 20th. And for the public to know that we are trying to get back into chambers, but still with the public calling in for participation. So we, as the state reopens and the county and the city, we are trying to still be careful about being COVID safe. And so stay tuned for how you can participate in our meetings to come. And I don't have anything else to say except that. And again, thanks to all the good people who applied. Like I said, we've already been having a very good discussion about State Street and downtown just through listening to your perspectives and answering our questions. So grateful for your application. We'll close this item and we'll adjourn the meeting to July 20th. Meeting adjourned.